Hello all you samurai loving cosmonauts, as always I am Cosmic and today we're going to be reviewing Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun, which is a hardcore tactical stealth game set in the Edo period of Japan's history. The game was developed by Mimimi Productions and published by Daedalic Entertainment. Now at its core, it's a real-time tactics stealth game, very reminiscent of games like Commandos and Desperados for people who remember those franchises. Like I've said, the game is set in the Edo period of Japan. A new shogun has risen to power and enforces a nationwide peace. However, there's trouble afoot and people are conspiring against the shogunate, and so he recruits 5 specialists into a team which will then fight this rebellion and conspiracy from the shadows. The game's story primarily focuses on Hayato, who is a lone ninja who falls in with the samurai Mugen, who is one of the shogun's generals, and together they will start on a quest to destroy the rebellion and fight the conspiracies against the shogun, in the meantime picking up various characters along the way, and they will form a team of eventually 5 different characters. What's great about the character design here is the fact that the group is composed very much of different characters with different abilities, very different personalities in terms of the narrative, but they also translate into mechanics as well. So Hayato's abilities and playstyle is very different to that of the samurai Mugen's, who's very different to that of any other character, and so it's about working together, using these characters as a team, putting them, using their abilities to the best of what situations they're best in, and using all the different abilities and characters at your disposal to overcome obstacles that wouldn't be able to be overcome without the teamwork of the 5. The game is very asymmetrical in its design, in the sense that each character has their own very unique role and they put something into the team as a whole, so you're not going to be able to go through the entire level as just one character. You need to use every single character's abilities in different situations to overcome and get the objective. Now, like I said, this is a stealth game and stealth is of the utmost importance. You are, for the most part, going to be completely outnumbered in every single mission. It's about using stealth, staying in the shadows, staying hidden, and that's very important because if you get discovered, you are going to likely die 9 times out of 10. The game is very hardcore in that sense. There's a very big difficulty. You can choose from 3 difficulty levels, but each, especially the normal and the harder difficulties, are pretty damn challenging, and I really enjoyed that. That's something that I love about the stealth genre, is the fact that it is bittersweet for the most part. It's sweet in the fact that when you execute a level almost to perfection, there's very little sense of joy that can be felt compared to that of other games. You never get that sense of accomplishment in a lot of other genres that you get in a perfectly executed stealth game. That being said, it's also bitter in the fact that it is going to be challenging as hell. You are going to make mistakes, you are going to get people killed. Now luckily the game does have an autosave feature and a quick save feature, so the game will autosave at various points, usually at the start and end of a level. However, the game will, at the very top, has a little icon where you can quick save, and it will tell you the time since your last quick save, and it will flash green, yellow and then red depending on how long you've left without a quick save, as a reminder to quick save your game so you don't lose all your progress, which is a little nice feature that I quite enjoyed. Now the footage I'm showing you here is from the first and second missions respectively. I don't want to spoil too much about what's ahead. The game is fairly narratively driven, and it's got, for the most part, a good narrative with some strong voice acting in there, a couple of strange moments, but overall it's a solid performance from the voice actors. It's fairly well written, each character has a very distinct personality, there's some funny moments in there, there's some very cool moments in there, and overall it's a very enjoyable story experience. One thing that stood out for me was the level design. The game's level design is absolutely fantastic. Not only do they look great, but They are designed so well, mainly due to the fact that they have a vertical level design, so you are able to scale cliffs, you are able to jump across rooftops as a ninja, you are able to jump down from great heights to assassinate an enemy. And I absolutely loved the vertical level design, mainly because you don't really see it that often in top-down games, especially top-down stealth games like Commandos, that kind of thing. You don't tend to see it in the top-down stealth genre, and Shadow Tactics has executed it brilliantly. I was very impressed with the level design. Levels are large, there are multiple paths to choose, they're very non-linear in that sense. There's multiple paths to take to your objective, multiple ways of completing your objective, and it really does give you that freedom to experiment and adds that really in-depth layer of tactics and strategy alongside the stealth, so that it's important to plan your routes, make sure that, you know, line of sight is very important, and it's something that it just does really well, to the point that the levels are large enough and they have multiple paths enough so that most levels will take upwards of an hour to 2 hours to complete, especially if not longer, especially if you are trying to get that perfect stealth rating. Now, the game itself is in real time, so enemies are going to be on patrol, line of sight is very important, sound is very important, so if you make too much noise you'll be discovered, but you can distract enemies with sound also. And you also have a shadow feature, which is like a pause for a brief time, which you can then queue up commands. Now, you can't queue up more than one command per character, but what it does allow is it allows you to string up some impressive maneuvers with multiple characters, and pulling off one of those maneuvers feels very, very satisfying. It's actually surprising how unrestrictive this game is. You can swim underwater, hide in houses, hide in bushes, and use your environment to your advantage. And at first I certainly thought that, oh, I won't be able to jump in that water, and then I was able to, and it was surprising the level of interactivity with the environment that the developers have put in here. You can use the environment to also kill or hamper your enemies. For example, one guard was standing right behind an ox, so I, from the bushes, threw a rock at the ox, which startled the ox, who then back kicked the enemy and killed him instantly. And doing things like that, just those little tiny moments in the game, add for a really nice experience. I have to say, I fell in love with Shadow Tactics. I love stealth games. I love that kind of thing where taking your time is absolutely paramount, and not only taking your time, but, you know, it's one of those games where if you try and rush through, you're going to get punished. So expect a lengthy time commitment for each mission. You're talking maybe a couple of hours per mission, which is somewhat daunting at times, but even going through the missions, it never feels fatigued. You never get frustrated in the sense of this is taking too long. The game really does pull you in and immerses you in the world. The problem befalls, however, in the fact that it does have a fairly difficult barrier to entry, in the sense that the controls are laid out a little bit weird to start with, the default key bindings, and I actually had to rebind my keys, especially for the map control and that kind of thing, because there were so many hotkeys to use, and I really didn't like the original map control, which means that for some people who are looking for a more casual stealth tactics game, this probably isn't going to be for them. This game will punish you, and you're talking about, if you get discovered, it is likely that you will die, because they will call reinforcements, and once you get those heavily armored samurai reinforcements, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to escape. Once you're dead, you are dead. If you forget to quick save, you might have to go back to the start of the level, which can be a little bit frustrating. But on the flip side, on the positive side of that, it's challenging. It reminds me of the days when video games were a lot more challenging, where they were punishing, where, you know, you learned through your mistakes, through trial and error, and it's a game that I absolutely adore for that fact. It should give players and people who love the genre plenty of challenge to come, and I absolutely loved pretty much the majority of the mechanics involved. I loved the level design, I loved the asymmetrical characters, I loved the story, and there's very little problem with the game overall. There are a few problems. It isn't perfect, however. Loading times are ridiculous ridiculously long. You're talking minutes at some times, where in between levels especially, loading times can be horrifically long, and to the point where I actually thought the game had frozen several times just because it took that long. And again, because the missions are so long, I can imagine many players feeling quite fatigued throughout, feeling that the missions are just too long, they're too much of a grind, it's taken too long to get through without any sense of progression in the short term. Now, for me, that wasn't an issue, but I can imagine that for a lot of people, that will be an issue. Getting, a 2-hour mission is going to be a little bit of an issue for some people. Now, I never had any really difficult technical problems with the game. I never had a single crash with the game. There were a couple of minor audio glitches here and there, but nothing that stayed, nothing that was game breaking in any way, and I was relatively impressed with the performance of the game overall, apart from the horrific loading times. Graphically, apart from the few minor hiccups here and there, the game looks fantastic. I absolutely love the art style. It's very smooth, everything works as it's supposed to for the most part, and I thought that in terms of a visual and audible experience, the game was absolutely top notch. For me, Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun is a absolutely fantastic game. I fell in love with this title. It's challenging, it's unforgiving, but it's charming, and it oozes a sense of well put together mechanics. Yes, it has a barrier to entry, yes, it has a steep learning curve, but once you've overcome that learning curve, you can really immerse yourself in the late Edo period Japan, with all your cast of characters running around, scaling rooftops, hiding from the enemy, taking out people with shuriken. It's fantastic. People who really enjoy stealth games, who really enjoy tactics games, who really enjoy having a damn challenge in your video game, this is going to be for you. And I think that it's well worth picking up. It deserves every success that it gets. And for me, what a way to finish off the stealth genre for 2016 with this title, because it's absolutely stellar. And that is my review of Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and as always, I will see you next time.